Hi, it's Nadia here. Today I'm going to teach you how to make these beautiful and easy caged beads, which you can use in all your jewellery projects. And I'll also run you through how to make a fantastic pair of Cascade earring using your caged beads. But before I start, please remember to subscribe to our channel. I have a lot of fantastic jewellery projects to teach you. Let's have a look at the materials and tools I will be using. But I'm going to put a list in the box below so everything's clear and you can follow it with all the links. You can use any beads you want to make caged beads. 4mm, 6mm and 8mm beads I find are the best, and you can use them in any colour. And I like to use 0.6mm wire. I find it works the best, but you can use it in any plating colour that you want. And to make the earrings, you will need some jump rings, some fine chain, some ball pins or head pins, and a couple of earring tops. The tools that I'm using today are my flush cutters, my round nose pliers, my flat nose pliers, and I'm also going to be using some nylon jaw pliers to straighten my wire. And you need a ruler. So let's get started. The magic for these caged beads starts with this little swirl. I'm going to show you how to make it now. And I start off by cutting 16cm lengths my 0.6mm wire, so roughly 16 centimeters. And if you have nylon jaw pliers, I start off by straightening the wire. Next, I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to put the end of my wire right at the very tip with very little overhang, and I'm going to twist my wire around the top to form a little loop. Just until the wires are touching, not overlapping. It's quite important to make sure they don't overlap. And I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and just give it a little squeeze. Because I want to make sure that the loop is small. The smaller the loop, the easier it is to make the swirl, and also it means that the pin that you put through the bead afterwards won't go through. So with this in place, I can take my round nose pliers again and I hold on to the first loop that I've made, and I'm going to swirl the wire around it, and I do this with my wrist, so a little movement, and at the same time I feed the wire through with my other hand. So the first couple can be a bit difficult to make, but then the shape starts following through. And the important thing to make sure is that your swirl is one next to the other. Don't let it overlap. And I find it easier to do it with the bottom part of my pliers, the wider part, because it holds it better. So I'm just going to swirl it around. And I'm going to swirl it till I reach halfway So you can measure it with your ruler to see that you've got about 8 centimeters left. So I could probably make a couple more swirls until I reach the middle. Okay, so halfway through, and now I need to make the same on the other side, but the second swirl goes the other way round. So I hold it with this swirl facing down, and I'm going to make the loop going the other way. Same thing, I'm going to take it around the top of my pliers to make a loop that just reaches the wire, no overlap, and I'm going to give it a little squeeze with my flat nose pliers just to tighten it and make it slightly smaller. Make sure it's closed. And now I can take my round nose pliers, hold that loop and start swirling it around. So I've got my little scroll with the swirls going opposite ways, almost at the middle. So I'm just going to join them, bring them together so that they're more or less the same. And I want to make sure that they join each other exactly. So I have a neat little scroll. Before I put my bead in here, I'm just going to press on my links ever so gently on my little scroll with my round nose pliers, just to loosen the coil slightly. So it just gets a little curved shape. And now for the tricky part. I'm going to put my bead inside and cage it. And I do this with a pin. I'm going to take one of my beads. This is a 0.6mm bead. Just going to make sure, yeah, my pin fits through it well. So I'm going to put it inside my little cage. I'm going to put the pin through the little hole at the bottom, put my bead on it, and now I'm going to fold this part onto it and take my pin out through the top part. So at the moment I've got a little coil at the bottom and a little coil at the top, and my bead is securely running through the middle, held by my pin. And now I'm going to adjust the coil on both sides to make sure that it surrounds the bead nicely. I'm doing this with my flat nose pliers, so I'm just going to bring this a bit closer And then I'm just going to space my little coils so that they go around the bead neatly. And you can just adjust them till you think it looks right. And now I'm going to finish off my pin. So I'm going to grab it right at the top of the bead with my round nose pliers and give it a little fold. Now that the bead is securely in place and I've bent my little pin to hold it, I'm going to cut it so it's about 1 centimeter length left. I'm going to make my loop, so a nice little loop. And I'm just making sure that there's a little gap left between my coil, my little cage, and my loop, because that means that the bead will hang down nicely. For this little caged bead, I've used an 8mm bead. It's slightly bigger, and I like to just keep the coil tighter at the top and at the bottom, and then space it out more in the middle. I find it's more effective, but you can choose how you want to put your little cage around your bead. So remember, you can space it using your flat nose pliers. The last cage bead I'm showing you is the 4mm bead. I just want to show you that the coil that goes around it, the little cage, is very tight when it's a small bead. So all you can see is a little hint of colour, but it works very well. So let's just have a quick look. 8mm, 6mm and 4mm. To make my cascade earrings, you will need 8 finished beads. So I've got 4 on each side. 2 are the 8mm, 1 is the 4mm and 1 is the 6mm. And I've not made them identical, but I have kept one thing the same on both sides. My little 4mm bead is going to be my third one along. So when you look at it visually, it's just a little anchor point for both of them. And you will need to cut your chain into identical lengths. So 2 lengths of 4 centimeters, 2 lengths of 3 centimeters, 2 lengths of 2 centimeters, and 2 lengths of 1 centimeter. And I literally put my chain next to my ruler and I cut. So I always cut 1 link more than my actual length that I need, and make sure that you take out any links that might have been cut and stayed in before you move on to the next cutting, because it has a habit of doing that. I know I've put my chains through there or my pins through there and I can't, it just breaks. So remove the last little cutting, and again place your chain 4 centimeters and give it a snip. With my chains cut, 4 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 2 centimeters and 1, the same for both sides, I'm now going to attach my caged beads directly to the link, and I do this with my flat nose pliers, so slightly opening my loop forwards or backwards, and slipping it, the last link through it, and then closing my loop back, making sure it's nice and tight so my little bead won't fall off. And I repeat this for all 8 beads. And as I said, for my little earrings, I've put the smallest bead on the 2 centimeter length of chain. So it will be the 3rd one along. We're almost done now, and what's left is to put the chains on a jump ring and attach it to the earring hooks. Carefully open the jump ring and start feeding your chains on it in the correct order. So 4 centimeters, 3 centimeters. Make sure that you put the last link of the chain onto the jump ring. 2 centimeters. And last one, the 1 centimeter one. And now I'm going to put the loop of my earring hook on it, and I'm going to close it. So make sure that you bring it so it joins perfectly in the middle and no gaps or very little gap, so that it doesn't fall apart when you wear it. First earring. I'm going to repeat the same for the second earring. That's it. Your Cascade caged bead earrings are finished and very gorgeous. Remember that you can use these beads in lots of other ways, and you can make earrings with just a single one, and you can use them on your bracelets and on your necklaces. So enjoy making them. Please leave us feedback. We love hearing from you, and hope to see you again on our next project.